All right, so you ready to dive into some pretty interesting emails?
Always.
We've got a whole
Oh,
stack of them this time.
oh yeah?
Photos, permits, all about some homes in Baltimore.
Okay.
And let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
it's a story that will have you questioning what it really means to have a safe and inspected home.
Sounds juicy.
So these emails, they start with what seems like a pretty straightforward request for inspections,
Right.
but it quickly kind of unravels into something way more
I'm
complex.
intrigued.
So we're talking about a community in East Baltimore called Station East,
Okay.
and a homeowner named Julian Smith who first reached out to city officials back in March of 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and he's asking for inspections for 5 properties.
5 properties.
Yeah, citing code construction concerns.
Hmm. That's
It
interesting.
sounds pretty standard,
On the
right?
surface, yeah, you would think so.
But the tone of his emails, the persistent, like the way he follows up,
Man.
it suggests a deeper worry. This isn't just about, a loose floorboard or a leaky faucet.
Right.
Before we go any further, let's set the stage here.
Okay.
Station East, what's the vibe?
Um, so it's a historically working class area
Mm-hmm.
that's seen its share of investment and revitalization efforts.
Okay.
The Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development,
Okay.
they play a big role there.
That's the DHCD.
Yeah.
Got it.
They're really trying to improve the housing conditions and support the residents.
So DHCD is kind of like the housing watchdog for the city,
Exactly.
making sure things are up to code and all that.
They enforce building codes, provide resources for homeowners,
Uh-huh.
and try to make sure that people are living in safe and decent housing.
Right.
But, as we'll see, sometimes those systems don't really work as they should.
Gotcha. So we've got the setting.
Hmm.
Who are the main players in this story besides Julian?
So Julian seems to be acting as kind of a community liaison,
Okay.
but we also hear from Nicholas Miles. He's another homeowner who's got some really serious issues. We're talking photographic evidence of basement repairs,
Mm-hmm.
and they just look downright dangerous.
Oh, wow.
And then there's Shauna Fredericks,
Okay.
a third homeowner.
Right.
And she's basically echoing these concerns,
Mm-hmm.
mentioning that she's gotten repair estimates
Mm-hmm.
that exceed $60,000.
$60,000.
Yeah.
That's not just like a fix-it-yourself kind of problem.
That's a major.
Yeah.
That speaks to a real potential pattern of just substandard work.
Okay, so on the city side of things,
Mhm.
we've got Ayman Shahid.
Right.
He's the superintendent of construction code enforcement, and he's copied on all these emails.
Uh-huh.
Any other officials we should be aware of?
So Marlene Adams and Wanda Green, they're both city officials.
Okay,
They're also in the loop.
gotcha.
Although their specific roles aren't super clear from the emails.
Mm-hmm.
For our purposes, for this deep dive,
Yeah.
Julian, Nicholas, and Shauna, they're really our primary sources here.
Right, they're the ones living with the issues.
Exactly.
They're the ones that bought these homes expecting them to be, safe and livable.
Right. And that's where this story takes a truly unsettling turn.
Okay.
You see, Shauna mentions that one contractor actually recommended demolition. Demolition.
As in, tear the whole house down and start over.
Yes, because of the poor quality of the work,
Wow.
which seems utterly baffling,
Yeah.
considering that city inspection supposedly approved all this construction.
So how do we get from a request for inspections
Right.
to a recommendation for demolition?
That's what we're going to figure out.
All right, so let's rewind and untangle this timeline.
Let's do it.
It all begins with Julian Smith's first email
Okay.
on March 12, 2019, and he's formally requesting those home inspections.
Right?
But then just over a week later,
Yeah.
he sends a follow-up,
Ah.
and he attaches a list of homeowners and addresses again.
Hmm.
Sounds like he's dealt with his fair share of bureaucracy before.
He's persistent, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if he sensed a reluctance from the city to actually get involved.
Then, on March 19th,
Okay.
Julian confirms that Superintendent Shahid
Right.
will be coming out on the 21st to do the inspections.
Okay.
But he specifically asks if the mayor's office is covering the cost.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because he's concerned about the fees.
That's interesting.
What do you make of that?
I mean, it suggests that there might be some financial considerations
Yeah.
tied to these inspections.
Uh-huh.
Perhaps there's some kind of program or initiative
Right.
that could be influencing how they're conducted.
So the inspections happen.
Right.
Case closed, right?
Not quite.
Oh, no.
On March 22nd,
Okay.
Nicholas Miles, remember him,
Yeah.
emails Shahid with photos of his basement repairs
After the inspection.
after the inspection.
Oh, wow.
He describes loose bricks,
Uh-huh.
exposed pipes,
Oh, my gosh.
even like structural problems.
So even after an official inspection, there are still some major red flags.
Major red flags.
Something doesn't add up here.
It really doesn't.
And it gets worse.
Oh.
Nicholas mentions that his basement leaked again during a recent rainstorm.
Oh, no.
And this is after the inspection supposedly cleared everything.
This is where I start to get really concerned for these homeowners.
Yeah.
They're being told that everything's fine,
Mm-hmm.
but they're living with real, potentially dangerous problems.
Right. And on April 3rd,
Okay.
Julian Smith sends this pretty disheartening email to Shahid.
Mm.
He expresses his frustration,
Yeah.
describes the water leaking in his basement the day after the inspection,
Oh, jeez.
and even mentions that the seller instructed the builder not to fix anything under warranty.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
The seller told the builder to ignore warranty claims.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
That's not just bad business. That's shady.
Totally.
It raises all sorts of questions about the relationships between the seller and the builder,
Yeah.
and potentially even the city.
So at this point, what are the homeowners supposed to do?
Well, Nicholas Miles decides to become his own investigator.
Okay.
He starts digging into the permits issued for his property.
Good for him.
Yeah, he emails Shahid on April 27th,
Mm-hmm.
asking if these permits were actually inspected and approved by the city.
He's not letting this go.
No, not at all.
Good.
And he also voices his concerns about just the overall quality of the work,
Okay.
stating that several contractors have confirmed that it wasn't done to code.
So it's not just one homeowner's opinion.
No,
Multiple professionals are kind of backing up their claims here.
exactly. And this is where it feels like the dominoes start to fall.
Yeah.
It's not just one problem, it's a cascade of issues.
Yeah.
And they're all pointing back to potentially shoddy construction
Mm-hmm.
and questionable oversight.
That same day,
Yeah.
Shauna Fredericks jumps into the email chain,
Okay.
adding her own frustrations.
Yeah.
She mentions that they've been getting estimates from contractors, and the costs to fix everything are exceeding $60,000 per home.
Per home.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're talking about a massive financial burden for these homeowners
Absolutely.
on top of the stress and uncertainty.
And then she drops another bombshell.
What's that?
She found out that Edgemont Builders, the company responsible for the construction,
Mm-hmm.
might be operating under different DBAs.
Hold on, DBAs? Like doing business as?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a way to kind of obscure their track record, make it harder to hold them accountable.
For shoddy work.
Exactly.
So we've got potential code violations,
Mm-hmm.
ignored warranty claims,
Yeah.
and now this whole DBA situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to feel like we're peeling back the layers of a very concerning onion.
It is.
What happens next?
Well, Nicholas,
Mm-hmm.
still on his permit quest,
Okay.
emails the DHCD permits department directly on April 29th.
Okay.
Again, asking for confirmation that the listed permits were inspected.
This guy is like a dog with a bone.
He's not giving up.
Good.
And this time, he gets a response from Shahid
Oh.
on April 30th,
All right.
apologizing for the delay and promising to look into it.
Finally, some movement from the city.
Right.
So what does Shahid find out?
So on May 3rd,
Okay.
Shahid emails Nicholas back,
Hmm.
confirming that all the permits were indeed inspected and approved,
Really?
except for one,
Which one?
the underpinning permit.
Underpinning. What's that all about?
So underpinning,
Uh-huh.
it's a process that's used to strengthen and stabilize existing foundations.
Okay.
It's a crucial step in construction, especially in older homes.
Right.
And Shahid specifically mentions that this particular permit required inspection by a Maryland state licensed engineer
Hmm.
named James D. Plowden Jr.
So this Plowden guy,
Yeah.
he's a key piece of the puzzle here.
Yes.
If he inspected and approved the underpinning
Right.
and the other permits were also approved,
Yeah.
how do we end up with a contractor recommending demolition?
That's the million-dollar question,
This
isn't it?
just doesn't add up.
It does
And
not.
that's what makes this whole situation so unnerving on
Right.
paper.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be in order.
Permits issued, inspections done, approvals granted.
Yep.
But the reality on the ground tells a very different story.
And the consequences for these homeowners are very real.
Absolutely.
So as we dig deeper into this story,
Yeah.
keep this question in mind. What does it really mean for a home to be considered safe
Right.
and inspected?
Mm-hmm.
And who is ultimately responsible when the system fails to protect homeowners?
Important question.
Really important question.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Really is.
You have all this paperwork,
Uh-huh.
all these stamps of approval,
Right.
and yet these homes are potentially so dangerous that demolition is on the table.
Yeah, it really throws a wrench into our understanding of how these systems are supposed to work.
Totally.
And it raises such a critical question
Yeah.
about the effectiveness of inspections and permits
Mm-hmm.
in ensuring safe housing.
So if the permits were approved,
Right.
including the underpinning inspected by a licensed engineer,
Yeah.
how is it possible that the work is so shoddy?
Right. What could have gone wrong here?
Like, what are the possibilities?
Well, one possibility is that the inspections just weren't as thorough as they should have been.
Okay.
Perhaps the inspector missed key details
Uh-huh.
or felt pressure to approve the work quickly.
Hmm.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
a backlog of projects or
Yeah.
a desire to show progress
Right.
in revitalizing an area can lead to rushed inspections.
So it's possible that the inspections were just a rubber stamp,
It's possible.
a formality rather than a genuine assessment of the work.
It's a concern,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be the first time we've seen this happen.
Really?
Yeah, a 2019 study by the National Institute of Building Sciences
Okay.
found that construction defects cost the U.S. economy over $1.8 trillion annually.
Wow, that's a staggering number.
It is.
It really puts the potential scale of this problem into perspective.
And these costs aren't just financial.
Right.
They represent real-world consequences
Yeah.
for homeowners
Mm-hmm.
in terms of safety,
Mm-hmm.
health, and well-being.
It's not just about dollars and cents. It's
Mhm.
about people's lives.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another possibility is that the builder,
Edgemont.
Edgemont Builders,
Mhm.
deliberately cut corners,
Okay.
knowing that the inspections might not catch everything.
Hmm.
Perhaps they use substandard materials
Mm.
or rush through critical steps to save money.
And remember, we learned that they might be operating under different DBAs.
Right, which could make it even harder to track their work and hold them accountable.
Yeah, for shoddy work.
Using different business names can create a layer of obfuscation,
Right.
making it more difficult for homeowners to research a builder's track record
Mm-hmm.
or for authorities to investigate potential patterns of misconduct.
So it's possible that Edgemont Builders was intentionally taking advantage of the system.
It's a possibility we can't ignore,
Yeah.
and it speaks to a broader issue of accountability in the construction industry.
Right. Who is ultimately responsible for ensuring that homes are built safely and to code?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it the builder,
Uh-huh.
the inspector,
The city?
or a combination of all three?
Yeah,
It's a very complex web of responsibility.
it is.
And when something goes wrong, it can be really difficult to pinpoint where the blame lies.
And in the meantime,
Yeah,
the homeowners are the ones left to deal with the consequences.
absolutely. They're the ones facing the potential safety hazards,
Mm-hmm.
the exorbitant repair costs,
Yeah.
and the emotional stress of living in a home that's not what they were promised.
You know, as you're talking about this, I
Yeah.
keep thinking about Julian Smith's email where
Mhm.
he mentions being concerned about the cost of the inspections.
Ah.
What if these fees create a barrier for homeowners, especially those in lower income communities,
Right.
to request inspections in the first place?
That's a really crucial point. Access to affordable housing is a major challenge in many cities.
It is.
And if the cost of inspections is prohibitive,
Right.
it could create a situation where only those with more resources can afford to ensure their homes are safe.
It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
The need for affordable housing leads to shortcuts in construction, which may then go undetected because of the limited access to inspections,
Right.
putting homeowners at even greater risk.
Precisely. And it highlights the need for policies and programs
Mm-hmm.
that address both the affordability and the quality of housing.
So what can be done to break this cycle? If inspections aren't always reliable
Yeah.
and builders aren't always acting ethically, how can homeowners protect themselves?
Well, first and foremost, be informed.
Okay.
Research the builder's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Check for complaints filed with licensing boards or consumer protection agencies.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if they seem basic.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. And don't solely rely on the city's inspection process.
Okay.
If you see something that concerns you,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to hire an independent inspector.
That's an extra expense, though.
It is. It's an added expense, yes.
Yeah.
But it could save you a lot of heartache and money in the long run.
So it's about being proactive,
Yes.
doing your own due diligence,
Mhm.
and advocating for your own safety and well-being.
Exactly. And remember,
Yeah.
there are resources available to help
Right.
organizations like the National Home Builders Association
Okay.
and the National Association of Home
Yeah.
Inspectors.
Mm-hmm.
They can provide guidance and connect you with qualified professionals.
That's great advice, but it also makes me wonder,
What's that?
what about the homeowners who don't have the time, the resources, or
Mm.
even the knowledge to do all of that?
Right.
How do we protect the most vulnerable in these situations?
That's a critical question.
Yeah.
And it points to the need for systemic solutions.
Okay.
We need stronger building codes,
Uh-huh.
more rigorous inspection processes,
Mm.
and greater accountability for builders who cut corners.
And perhaps programs that provide financial assistance
Yes.
for independent inspections,
Exactly.
especially for lower-income homeowners.
We need to ensure that everyone has access to the resources they need
Yeah.
to live in safe and decent housing,
Mm.
regardless of their income level.
This whole situation is really eye-opening.
It is.
It's easy to assume that if a home has been inspected and permits have been issued, then it must be safe.
Right. But as we're seeing,
Yeah.
that's not always the case.
And that's why stories like this are so important.
They are.
They shine a light on the cracks in the system,
Mm.
the potential for things to go wrong,
Yeah.
and the need for greater vigilance and advocacy from the
Absolutely.
part of homeowners.
It's a stark reminder that even the most basic expectation,
Yeah.
having a safe and structurally sound home,
Mm-hmm.
can be a struggle for some.
So as we continue our deep dive into these emails,
Yeah.
let's keep these larger questions in mind.
Okay.
How do we balance the need for affordable housing with the need for quality construction and oversight?
Right.
And how do we empower homeowners to advocate for themselves
Yes.
and navigate the complexities of the housing market?
Such important questions.
It's hard not to see the echoes of a much bigger issue here.
Yeah.
This isn't just a Baltimore problem.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
What we're seeing here,
Mm-hmm.
the tension between affordable housing and, the potential for compromised quality,
Right.
it's a nationwide concern.
It's like this constant pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Cities need more affordable housing.
Mm.
Developers are trying to meet that demand.
Oh,
And
yeah.
sometimes it feels like corners get cut along the way.
Exactly. And when that happens,
Yeah.
it's often the homeowners,
Uh-huh.
especially those in lower income communities,
Right.
who bear the brunt of the consequences.
We've seen that play out in so many cities.
Yeah.
There's this rush to
Yeah.
build to address the housing shortage.
Right.
But if quality and oversight are sacrificed,
Yeah.
it creates a whole new set of problems.
And it can erode trust in the entire system.
Right.
If homeowners feel like they can't rely on inspections to guarantee safety,
Yeah.
what recourse do they have?
It's disheartening, to say the least.
It is.
And it makes you wonder what can be done to break this cycle. What are some solutions that could address
Right.
both the affordability and the quality of housing?
Well, for starters,
Yeah.
we need stronger building codes
Okay.
and more rigorous enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
That means ensuring that inspectors are properly trained,
Mm-hmm.
adequately staffed,
Right.
and empowered to do their jobs without undue pressure.
Because if inspectors are overworked,
Yeah.
underpaid,
Mhm.
or facing pressure to approve projects quickly,
Right.
it's easy to see how things could slip through the cracks.
Absolutely. We also need greater transparency and accountability
Okay.
throughout the construction process. That could mean requiring builders to disclose more information
Mm-hmm.
about their history, their subcontractors, the
Right.
materials they're using, and so on.
So empowering homeowners with more information up front
Exactly.
so they can make informed decisions.
Right, and making it easier for homeowners to report issues
Mm-hmm.
and hold builders accountable for shoddy work
Okay.
that could involve streamlining complaint processes,
Uh-huh.
creating stronger consumer protection laws,
Okay.
or establishing independent oversight boards
Mm-hmm.
to review building practices.
And what about the financial aspect?
Yeah.
We talked about how the cost of inspections can be a barrier
Uh-huh.
for some homeowners.
Right.
Are there ways to address that?
Absolutely. Some cities have started experimenting with programs
Okay.
that provide financial assistance for inspections,
Hmm.
especially for low-income homeowners
Right.
or those buying in older neighborhoods
Uh-huh.
where problems are more likely to arise.
That seems like a common sense solution.
It does.
Make it easier for people to access the information they need
Yeah.
to ensure their homes are safe.
Right. And it's not just about protecting individual homeowners. It's about protecting communities as a whole.
Yeah.
When homes are well built and properly maintained,
Yeah.
it strengthens neighborhoods,
Mhm.
reduces blight,
Mhm.
and improves the overall quality of life.
So it's an investment in the well-being of the entire city,
Exactly.
not just a line item on a budget sheet.
Precisely. And it's an investment that pays dividends
Yeah.
in terms of safety, health, and economic stability.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to the human element of this story.
Mm,
Julian, Nicholas, and Shauna.
right.
They're not just names on a page.
I know.
They're real people who put their trust in a system that, in this case, seems to have let them down.
That's what makes this so compelling
Yeah,
and so unsettling.
it is.
It's a reminder that behind every policy debate, every statistic, every bureaucratic process, there are real people whose lives are impacted.
So what's the one thing you want our listener to take away from this deep dive?
If there's one thing to remember,
Okay.
it's this. Be informed,
Mm-hmm.
be proactive, and be your own advocate,
Well,
whether you're buying a home, renting an apartment,
yeah.
or just trying to understand the complexities of the housing market.
Right.
Knowledge is power.
Couldn't agree more.
Don't be afraid to ask questions,
Yeah.
to do your research, to push back if something doesn't seem right.
Right.
And remember, there are resources available,
Yeah.
organizations dedicated to helping homeowners navigate these challenges.
This deep dive may have started with a handful of emails from concerned homeowners,
Right.
but it's opened up a much larger conversation
What has?
about the state of affordable housing,
Mm-hmm.
the role of inspections and oversight,
Yeah.
and the importance of empowering homeowners.
It's a conversation we need to keep having.
Yeah, I agree, because ultimately, everyone deserves a safe and decent place to call home.
They do.
And it's up to all of us to work towards that goal.
Absolutely.